Happy New Year and welcome to our New Year's podcast. I'm Melinda Kucsera, your indie fantasy author, and I've seen a lot of other podcasts doing sort of a yearly wrap up, so I thought it might be fun to do one for mine. And Rand wants me to read our New Year's Day email, which is going out tomorrow. So technically you're getting to hear something that other people will be reading tomorrow, but a little glimpse into the future, if you will. So Happy New Year's. And it's been a big year for the podcast. I started this podcast in 2022, I think, and then I wasn't able to keep up with it. The work schedule that I had at the time and the writing schedule was just too much. But this year I made a concerted effort starting in May to get back to the podcast and really turn it into something that I hope will help connect readers to new fantasy authors. So that was really exciting. And I think I've done a pretty good job of making that a reality. So, okay, Rand wants me to read the email because it did summarize a lot of this in the email. He doesn't want me to just off the cuff tell you about things. So let me do that. Let me make him happy. The pint-sized dictator in my life, who's also fictional. So, all right, here's the newsletter. Hey, Happy New Year. May your year be epic and full of books, preferably ours. This is Rand, Sarn's son from the Cursebreaker series, back to welcome you to our holiday issue. And as we did with the last holiday issue, I will comment on it because I'm reading it to you and it's sort of awkward. So I have to comment on it to keep myself sane. That's not in the newsletter. That's me ad-libbing it. Okay, Rand is telling me I need to stop and go back to the newsletter. So let's come back to that. Let's start with some well wishes for the new year. Happy New Year. May your year be epic and full of books. Yes, he wanted me to repeat that. I just do what the fictional characters in my head tell me to do, so I'm sorry if the repetition bothers you. Okay, Rand is saying I need to get back to the newsletter. Last week, you wrangled a 30% off discount from me, so that's still happening. At checkout, use code CBS30 for 30% off ebooks and audiobooks that are $2.99 and up, excluding Stars and Angels Sing, because that just came out, and I'm still paying off some of the costs for that, so I can't discount it just yet. But maybe sometime next year we'll be able to do that. Since it's the first day of the new year, because again, this newsletter goes out tomorrow, which is New Year's Day, because my newsletter's on Mondays it goes out. So I'm also recording this podcast on New Year's Eve, and I'm going to be posting it on New Year's Eve. Okay, Rand is telling me you need to stop. I'm getting off topic. Okay, all right, he's saying that I'm both off target and topic. That's a new one for me. Since it's the first day of a new year, we should look back at the year that just ended and see how we did. Yes, it's time for that age-old tradition where fictional characters review their scribe. Hey, wait a minute. I didn't sign up for that. You guys can't review me. That's not cool. Okay, Rand is saying I need to get back to the email. I'm not sure if other characters do this, but we've been reviewing our scribe for years. Oh, really? You have? Why was I not informed? We also reserve the right to complain about her on other days because I never know when I'll need to indulge in a good rant. But I digress, as I do at least once in every email. And I digress many times in every podcast. We could rename this the Fantasy Digression and it would completely make sense. Anyways, back to the email. Will we give her 5 stars or a noble effort? Let's find out. Let's start with what we published. So in 2023, this is Melinda now speaking on my own behalf in my newsletter / podcast. So I published Stars and Angels Sing, which came out in the Kickstarter that just ended in December, and it's available on our website. It may be available on retailers. I haven't really decided. It's very pretty with all the images, and I'd have to take them all out for the retailers, and I don't know. I have to think about that. Or maybe Rand will argue with me about that. We will see, and it will be in the newsletter in a future podcast, whatever we decide. We'll tell you who wins that argument. Also published in 2023, Robin of Larkspur, books 1-3. That's an omnibus, and that is available as an ebook and a hardcover book. Stars and Angels Sing is available as an ebook, audiobook, and a paperback. We decided not to do hardcover for that, and I agree with the decision. The paperback is very pretty. If you switch over to the YouTube version, I'll have a video of us flipping through the book, so you can see it came out very pretty. We did a matte cover instead of glossy, And I've heard from other authors that matte has this sort of tactile feel to it, and I didn't understand what they meant until I got it. This is one of the books that I've done matte instead of, I usually do glossy. It does have this tactile feel to it. I don't know. I maybe I'm weird, but it's really nice. So I may do some more matte in the future. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the characters want, because I have to do what they want, or nothing gets done. Okay. Also published in 2023, Shards for His Gift, which was the 10th book in the Cursebreaker series, and that unfortunately ended on a cliffhanger because, well, I can't really say because this ex-goddess of vengeance showed up, and I just did not understand where she came from, what she wanted, who summoned her, what are all these crazy accusations she was making. So I cut it off before that because I needed time to chase down the characters and find out what the heck is going on. So that whole plot line, plus Jurlo and literally every other character in the book Chasing Dragons, will be in the sequel Chasing Dragons, which will come out in 2024. I apologize for the cliffhanger, but when you read Chasing Dragons, you'll completely understand why I had to end it where I did. It just got too crazy, and I needed time to straighten the characters out and put the craziness in some kind of logical order that made it understandable for someone who is not constantly chasing after them, trying to figure out what it is that they are doing. Be glad you are not in my head having to experience their madness. They don't always live stories in order, and sometimes I have to figure out the proper order of how things should happen and rearrange the story so that you can understand it and there's some kind of logical flow. But that is not how the characters show me the story. I'm often stumbling on the dark with a flashlight, trying to figure out, why is this happening? Why are you doing that? What did you do before you were doing this? And how did we get from the last place that I saw you to this? So I try to save you all of that frustration by putting things in some kind of logical order. The current books that I'm writing right now are making that rather difficult because the characters are just all over the place. And some of it is very cool, but trying to figure out some logical order to it so that it makes sense to other people, or even to me, because some of it... Okay, I'm rambling. Ren says to stop doing that. Okay, back to the email. Melinda, which is me, I also recorded 73 episodes for our podcast this year, which is kind of mind-blowing because I did like 15, or I think I did about 15 in 2022. So it's kind of mind-blowing that I did more than 3 times the number of podcasts. This is actually number 91 that'll be published. And I can't believe that I've gotten here. You know, when you start with that first episode, I can't believe we're now at number 91. That's just amazing to me. Thank you for coming along on this ride. Thank you for listening, for following. Just thank you for being there for this, because it's been quite a wild ride. Okay, 57 of the 73 episodes that I recorded this year, I interviewed fellow fantasy authors. Technically, there were 58 author interviews and 74 episodes that I recorded this year, but there's one episode that I can't release. I recorded it on December 30th. I'm just waiting for a couple of things from the author who I interviewed. So once I get those materials, I will publish the episode. So I'm hoping to get those today so I can get that out before the new year. But if not, then it'll go up in the new year. And then when we do the recap next year, I'll have to figure out where to put that episode because it's all recorded and edited. I just need the cover to put on the episode image, and I don't have that right now. So, which I still think that's amazing. I did that many podcast episodes this year. And most of them I did between May and December. So that's quite a lot, I think. Okay, so what did the scribe, which is me, write in 2023 that isn't published? So that would be Rogue Gods #1, which is called Gateway to Hell, and that's completed, but I haven't published it yet. And because I haven't published it yet, because in the past, I've published books as I've written them, and then the characters will just decide they don't want to do the rest of the story, and we'll have like this uncompleted trilogy for years until I can get them to come back and tell me, well, what happens next? Like I have that problem with Relic Hunter. It's supposed to be a trilogy, but there's only the one book published because the characters like refuse to tell me what happens next. And I can't write the sequel if I don't know what they want to do. I've created several outlines trying to give them an idea, but they destroy the outline. They don't like it. So it has to be a partnership. I've now decided that we're not going to do that anymore. If they want to do some kind of trilogy, we have to do the whole trilogy at once. They have to like knuckle down and do all the stories that are part of it, or none of it gets published. It will just sit and wait until they've decided to do it, because otherwise it's like, I don't think it's fair to readers. So that's the new policy, and that's why I'm forcing them to work with me on the Road Gods trilogy. They decided they wanted to do this, so we got to complete the trilogy and then it'll be published. So that way you can read it all in one go. And I could write it in all in one go and keep the characters on task, which is not easy. So I wrote the first book of the Road Gods trilogy, which is Gateway to Hell. It's completely written. It may have to make a few changes because of events that happened in Road Gods 2, which is Summon the Gods. There were some things in there that I thought we were going in one direction after the end of Gateway to Hell. The characters chose to go in a completely different direction. So I have to, once Summon the Gods is finished, actually I think I might want to write the third book, Storm the Gates, and then when the whole thing is finished, then reread the whole thing and see if I need to change things in book one, because I did not see some of that coming. But I often don't see some of what they're going to do coming. I think they take a lot of pleasure in figuring out what I think is going to happen and just doing something else. Occasionally, though, what I think is going to happen is what actually happens, but it's kind of rare. I also wrote in 2023 half of Chasing Dragons, which is Cursebreaker Book 11, and that's the whole Goddess of Vengeance thing that they haven't finished yet, so that's why it hasn't been published. It's to 50%. When it hits 100%, it will go out the door, because it's, and I would hold Shards for His Gift, which was book 10, because book 10 and 11 are kind of a duology, but because of the way book 9 in the Cursebreaker series ended, where we kind of left, I left it in them as where the best place I possibly could at the end of that book, but, Sarn was wounded and out unconscious, and Ran and Myron were worried about where are they going to live, what are they going to do now. So I felt like I couldn't hold book 10 because you needed to see what happened next. Are they okay? How are they coping with everything? And book 10 really dealt more with that than anything else. There was a whole thing with a crystal, but it was sort of background. I thought it was just going to be some fun little romp thing, and the crystal was just going to be something fun. I did not see it going the direction that it went, and that's why I caught it where I did. But there's already a whole bunch of books in the Cursebreaker series, so I wanted to show you that Sarn is healing and that they're okay, and things are tense, but they are staying somewhere safe. So, and Rand just really wanted to run the show, and he very much does in that book. Most of the narrative is his perspective. So it was sort of a fun book. Yeah, so those are the books that I wrote in 2023. Rogue Gods 1, which is Gateway to Hell. Rogue Gods 2, Summon the Gods, which is 90% complete. Rogue Rescue, which is Robin and Larkspur Book 4, which is 75% complete. Chasing Dragons, which is Cursebreaker Book 11, which is 50% complete. So those are going to be the books that get published in 2024. For definite. Those are definitely getting published in 2024. Okay, back to the email, because Rand says I'm ranting. Which is funny coming from him, because my whole newsletter once a week is him ranting about me. So I should get to complain a little bit about them too. It's my podcast. I'm the one doing the talking here. Okay, all right. Okay, I'm sorry. Back to the email. Not bad at all. How much of that featured me, Rand? This is important because I have goals to meet. I'm trying to be the character with the most scenes. Did I accomplish that goal? Kind of. I'm in every book, but I'm not the main character. I get to say my piece, though, and I work some really cool magic in the Road Gods trilogy, so I can't really complain. No, you can't complain. You got to do some very cool stuff in there, so you better not complain. I wasn't going to give away what his magic was for a while, but Rand decided we needed to do that, so there it is. You will, in the Road Gods trilogy, starting in that first book, you will find out exactly what his magic is. What else did we do in 2023? All our digitally narrated books will be available on Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Kobo Plus, Spotify, audiobooks.com, iTunes, and Overdrive, and I think there's one or two other places. And I'll have all the links soon. I have the links in the description right now to the Spotify where you can listen to the audiobooks. I still want human narrated versions, but I didn't earn enough in 2023 from book sales to make that a reality. Because of the podcast, I am not eligible to do royalty share through ACX. I spoke to them at length this year, and I can't. I am not allowed because I read some of it on here, and that's not allowed with their royalty share. So since I am barred from that, I have to pay for them outright, and that means the book sales have to cover it, and it wasn't there this year, the profit. So hopefully 2024 is a new year, so anything is possible. You can help by sharing my books on social media, recommending them, requesting them at your local library, and of course buying them. So, because every little bit helps, because I have to pay for it outright, audiobooks can be quite expensive, and the narrator that has been requested in my newsletter is very expensive, his hourly rate. But because it's such a gamble, I feel like I have to go with that, because if you're going to spend a lot of money on an audiobook, you need to know that there's going to be some sales from it, that you'll be able to recoup some of the expense. So I don't want to get a narrator that nobody wants. So for now, the audiobooks are digitally narrated by Google, and they're pretty good. I mean, I'd still prefer a human narrate it, but if you love audiobooks and like me, reading on screen is really difficult for you because of eye strain or other eye issues or just any reason, they are available, and they are what's coming in 2024. I plan to release all the books that I've already talked about, all 5 of them. Those are going to be the 5 books that get definitely released in 2024, depending on how long editing takes and how much I'm able to write. By the time those 5 books are out, there could be more books published in 2024. One of the books, there's 2 books that I particularly want to finish in 2024 and release, and that's Rogue Gift, which is Robin of Larkspur number 5. And I really want to get that out because it was supposed to publish at the same time as Cursebreaker Hidden, because there are flashback scenes in Cursebreaker Hidden when Sarn is trying to get his earth magic back that feature Robin and sort of show that there was an issue that she had with Jurlo. And I wanted to get this particular book out because it is all about that, and why she's not still at Mount Eredrin, why she's not at all part of their life. And so, yeah, but the characters decided we were not going to do that. So it is what it is. So that is one of the big things that I want. That's one of the priority in my writing queue, is to get Rogue Gift finished so it can go out. I would really like it to go with Rogue Rescue. And I'm hoping that Rogue Gift will wrap up the Robin of Larkspur series. I would like to do a trilogy for her, a trilogy for her, set a little bit later in time, but not right away. I need a break from her. She's not easy to write about. And the other priority book in my writing queue after the other 5 that we talked about is Cursebreaker Jousts, and that is book 12 of the Cursebreaker series. And it is a priority because it is mentioned in Cursebreaker Enchanted, and I believe also in Cursebreaker Darkens. They are talking about a joust that's coming up that summer. And so I need to get this out because it's been talked about, it's been mentioned in other books, and it just hasn't happened yet. So it's happening. That will be book 12. And in it, Ran and Sarn will attend a fantasy version of a Renaissance fair, and it's all fun and games until monsters crash the fair, led by a corrupted version of our queen. So we obviously need to save her somehow. That's all I'm going to say about that. Other books that are in the 2024 writing queue is Chaos Reigns, which is his Angelic Keeper book 5, which I wanted to get done sooner than this, but Rogue Gods thing took over my life. But yeah, that's definitely also a priority in the queue. And Mage Hunter, which is the long-awaited sequel to Relic Hunter. I'm just hoping the characters will show up and decide to do something, and so we can get that finally out there. I'd like to complete that trilogy, and I'd also like to complete the Cursebreaker's Companion trilogy, which the 3rd book in that, it would be Storm Spells, but we'll see if the characters want to show up and work on that one. I can't make them do anything. I try, but they don't listen. So, all right, back to the email. Not too bad. What are the odds of all those books getting written next year? Well, if you don't mind a little math, I can actually figure that out. Oh, really, Ren? You're going to sit and do math. This I got to see. So we have a Patreon for fans who want to read books before anyone else and vote on things. and I'll have the link for that down below, because you can actually read 4 of the 5 books that I mentioned earlier. They're on Patreon, every single chapter that's currently written. Patreon is also where I share things that I can't share publicly, both that I can't say anything about on the podcast, that I can't post about on social media, and that I can't put in my newsletter. Sometimes there are things that I just can't be out in the public in any way, but I can talk about them in Patreon because nobody can see it unless they are a paying member. So this is my safe space to be able to talk about some things. Nothing bad, just things that I am barred from speaking about elsewhere. Where does the math come in? I'm just getting to that. Hold your dragons. So Melinda publishes, that's me, 4 chapters a week on Patreon every week, no matter what we characters are doing. And that's true. It's only once or twice a year where I can't deliver the 4th chapter in a week. And I always put a note up explaining why. And usually it's because I'm in the middle of editing, because it doesn't matter what tier people are on Patreon. They get a copy of the book as soon as I finish writing it. And then I get it edited. And then as soon as it's like edited and ready, like to the point where like I would hit publish on it, that I send them a copy. So sometimes I'm not able to get all the editing or make the changes from the editor and also write the next chapter, because I also work full time outside of being an author, and I do commute to that office 3 days a week. There's only so many hours in a day. So, but yeah, they do get a copy. They've already gotten a copy of the first Rogue Gods book. They'll get a copy of either Rogue Gods 2 or Rogue Rescue, whichever one is finished and edited first. That'll be the next book that they get. Okay, I lost track of where we are. Okay, Rand, what was the last thing we read? Okay, I publish 4 chapters a week on Patreon, and I publish them on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if we take those 52 weeks in a year and we times them by 4 chapters per week, you get 208 chapters. Oh, wow, I write 208 chapters a year? That's wild. My books range in length, but most of them have around like 40 to 50 chapters. So let's just call the average 45. So if we divide 208 by 45, we get 4.6 books. So that's pretty cool. So I write about 4.6 books per year. That's pretty neat. So then if we minus 2 books from that 4.6, 1 book is for Rogue Gods number 3, which is, they burned the outline. So I have no idea what we're doing in there, but I'll be finding out soon, because there's only about 5 chapters left, I think, in Rogue Gods number 2. So they're going to have to tell me what we're doing in the 3rd book if they want you to read any of this. And yeah, so we'll take 2. So if we take those 4.6 books that I write every year, and we minus 2 books from that, 1 for Rogue Gods number 3, which I have to write in 2024, and 1 to wrap up the 3 other books that are mostly done, that leaves 2.6 more books that I could write in 2024. So I'm hoping to get that they'll be the ones that we spoke about. I hope I didn't lose you with my little math excursion. We never get to do any book math in here, so I got a little carried away. What do the characters think about this? This is Rand, and I have a lot of thoughts about this, as you expect. But my opinion might surprise you. Okay, now that I have your attention, I need to point out something that might have gotten lost in the math. 2024, 2025, and 2026 will be epic. Why will they be epic? Because the biggest and most ambitious stories are coming your way starting in 2024. We're holding no bars, pulling no punches, and putting it all on the line as we fight for family and friends. I hope you'll adventure with us in the coming year. And I hope you'll continue to be listening to the podcast in the coming year as well. As I'd like to try to go to an author event and maybe interview some authors in person. So we'll see. That all depends on the work schedule and whether I can afford to go to the conference. Usually I do the math for conferences, and because I'm in New York and I have to fly, the math usually comes out to more than I can afford. But hopefully in 2024 or 2025 I'll be able to get to one. So I wish you a very merry, very bright new year. May it be filled with all good things, amazing books. If you're into audiobooks, then fantastic listens and fantastic adventures. And we'll see you back here with another episode of Fantasy Lore and More with another fantasy author, hopefully tomorrow. And we've got 2 more coming up at the end of this week as well. So it should be exciting. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day or great night wherever you are. And don't forget to like, follow, all those things. So make sure that you are notified when the next episode drops. Thank you.